We open to a lush, verdant forest, which some dickhead has crashed a shuttle into, so that's another ecosystem we've fucked up. Surprisingly, the pilot wasn't Paris, as the only crew here are Tuvok and a new guy who I'm choosing to call Ensign Definitely Isn't Going to Die. After he immediately dies, Tuvok places a stasis field around his body, something we've not seen before and that I'm sure will have no bearing on the plot. As he's doing this, he hears a noise behind him and discovers a small child. He points a gun at her, then grabs her arms, before saying he's trustworthy, which is enough to convince her, and she tells him that her name is Tressa. Tressa says she's been stranded on this moon since her ship crashed and her parents are dead. Oh, and she has a couple of mates too, but everybody else carked it. After saying he'll take care of them, we all have a cuddle. For head of security, he's very quick to accept this situation instead of asking some basic questions, such as how long have you been here and what have you been using for food, but maybe I'm just a cynic. Up on Voyager, we're orbiting the planet Tuvok's moon belongs to. Janeway tells us the species who live here are called the Drayan, and Neelix says they're quite private, but not hostile. We teleport a delegation aboard and their boss, Net Curtin, greets us. She says curiosity about their story was enough to overcome their desire for privacy before being taken on a tour of the ship. Net Curtin is shown the warp core, presumably because we want minerals from their moons, but this causes Net Curtin to react with disdain. It seems the Drayan used to focus all of their efforts into technology before they had the Reformation, apparently a minor version of the Butlerian Jihad from Dune, where they dialed back the whole science thing to focus on more spiritual matters. Back on the moon, Tuvok's moved Ensign Definitely Isn't Going to Die's corpse into the shuttle and again repeats that he's wrapped it in a stasis field, just so you know that it's not important. Tuvok tells the kids they were lucky to survive the crash, and Tressa says the attendants on the flight got them to an escape pod before they crashed, which is an odd way to refer to your parents, but I'm sure I'm overthinking it. Anyway, they want to fly away on Tuvok's ship, with one of them being rather insistent on it, but Tuvok needs to first repair the shuttle and then figure out how to get past some electro-science wibbly in the atmosphere that caused him to crash in the first place. Tuvok wants to get started before it's dark, but the prospect of nightfall prompts the kids to mention something called the Mork, a creature that comes during darkness to take the dead back to its cave. They say it already took some kids while they slept, which again raises questions on how long they've been here, but Tuvok ignores it, and they say the Mork will take them too tonight. Back on Voyager, the tour continues with Net Curtin and friends being introduced to the Doctor. Time to find out just how serious they were about that whole Butlerian Jihad thing. Rather surprisingly, they're pretty chill about the Doc, as they believe flesh is just a vessel for consciousness, which is an unexpected twist, and we give points to the writers here for not taking the standard sci-fi tech bigot route. Anyway, the chat is cut short as Net Curtin receives a call. Got to go, thanks for the tour, now fuck off, don't let the door hit you in the arse on the way out of our system. Chakotay suggests trying to negotiate, but Janeway overrules, saying that the Drayan have made their wishes clear, so we have no choice but to bugger off. Just as soon as we get those scouting parties back, anyway. Speaking of which, Tuvok is having a poke around. He can't find those missing kids within scanning range, but is resisting the Mork idea, saying it's highly unlikely. We'll have a proper look when the shuttle scanners are working, but in the meantime we get to see Tuvok's parenting skills. Whilst trying in vain to teach them meditation, a ship is heard overhead. The partially working scanners say it's Drayan, and you'd think this would be a cause for celebration, but the kids say otherwise. It seems the Drayans sent the kids here to die. Tuvok embraces caution and decides to hide just outside the ship and see how things play out, which seems like the smart choice as they all have guns. Just as I wonder how they're going to hide from scanners, Tuvok tells the kids his tricorder can hide them from scanners, so a point to the writers for that one too. The search team buggers off and we have a proper chat about what's going on. The kids say they've been put here as a sacrifice to the Mork because the scrolls called for it, and ask Tuvok to help them. Of course, interfering with the internal matters of an unaffiliated species would likely be a Prime Directive violation, but I think we've all learned by now where Voyager stands on that one. All the away teams are back except for Tuvok, so off we go to collect him. Or try, as it seems the Drayan have a bit of a thing about the moon he crashed on, so they won't let Voyager send another shuttle, and the electro-science wibbly is preventing teleportation. B'Elanna's working on it, but for now, he's on his own. Well, not on his own, obviously. He's still got the kids, and they insist on making their presence known. Unable to get any work done because of the interruptions, he resorts to singing to them. Now, I'm not saying he used telepathy to knock them out, but they do fall asleep surprisingly quickly, so make of that what you will. In the morning, Tressa wakes up alone and yells for Tuvok. He runs out, gun drawn, to take a good long look at his fuck-up, because the other two kids are gone. Back on Voyager, B'Elanna's found the shuttle. Actually, she's found two. The other is Drayan and is presumably the one the kids were on. They found 4 life signs earlier as well, though that count now only seems to be 2. Oh, and B'Elanna says the teleporter simply isn't an option. Electro-science wibbly is just too strong, so we need another option. Tuvok's going for a little jaunt into the cave to see what's happened to the other kids, but not before fulfilling his duties as the responsible adult by giving Tressa a gun. Once he's locked her in the shuttle while she cradles a deadly weapon like a stuffed toy, Tuvok enters the cave. We don't find any kids, but there are a lot of child-sized clothes abandoned all over the place, all arranged as though the people wearing them simply disappeared. Tuvok doesn't care for this and tells Tressa, once she stops pointing a gun at him, that they're getting the fuck out of Dodge before nightfall. The Drayan seem to have other plans, as Voyager watches more shuttles land and now detects a significant group on the surface. Good news, though, as Tuvok is able to transmit through a gap in the electro-science wibbly and call them. He tells them about the disappearing kids and how Tressa said the Drayan are killing them before we lose the signal. Janeway gives the Drayan ship a call, politely offers to assist in the rescue operation, politely listens to their refusal, and politely tells them to get fucked as she's going to launch a shuttle anyway. In fact, she plans to be in it. Another point to the writers here for Chakotay pointing out that Janeway going is bullshit, even if she does ignore him. After explaining they've figured out a way to counteract the electro-science wibbly, we set off with the Drayan shuttle in pursuit. They're not the only ones ready to set off, though, as Tuvok's fixed the shuttle. Mostly, anyway. He's also figured out a way to stop the electro-science wibbly too, so they won't die. Probably. After Tuvok makes a console kaboom to get us off the ground, we're away. Net Curtin gives us a call and talks to Tressa, saying she's confused and should return to the surface, but both Tressa and Tuvok tell her to eat shit and die. Presumably upset by this, Net Curtin starts pooping white balls at them, though none of them hit and they appear to be warning shots. Janeway and Paris are approaching and give Tuvok a call. He's in bad shape and needs to land, so Janeway and Paris follow him in. On the surface, Tuvok and Tressa are waiting in a clearing. Net Curtin gets there first and demands Tuvok stop interfering, but Janeway's not far behind and we reach a standoff. Tuvok's not leaving Tressa, but there's a slight problem. Net Curtin tells us that Tressa is not a child. Tressa is, in fact, a 96-year-old grandmother. Drayans age in reverse and become confused and childlike as they approach the end of their lives. When they reach a certain age, the energy contained in their bodies is released, and their physical form ceases to be. It's the natural end of their life. They come to this moon because their people believe the cave is the source of all life, and I'll be honest here, I'd have a lot more patience for this explanation if it wasn't all being dumped on me in the last 3 minutes of the episode. It's a bit like having a Poirot mystery where, in the scene where he gathers all the suspects, we introduce a new character and say they're the murderer for reasons that happened entirely off-camera. I get that the purpose of this episode was to show the compassion of Tuvok and draw a parallel with his own children, but you could do that and still have a story that doesn't require an info dump at the end for it to work. That said, the conclusion here is a double-edged sword. I'm forever banging on about why the Prime Directive exists, so seeing an episode where we ignored it, and were wrong, is quite gratifying. But again, I digress. Janeway offers our apologies, and Net Curtin forgives us for our intrusion, which is pretty fucking generous of her under the circumstances. Tuvok is asked by Tressa to wait with her while the end comes, and they enter the cave together. Before we fly away, we give 2 more bonus points to the writers for that stasis field thing being a red herring. Well played, you got me. End of episode.